1 million people took to the streets in France in the 9th day of protest against President Macron's pension reform.
A show of strength and defiance as President Volodymyr Zelensky visits the recaptured Kherson, a city which has borne the brunt of Russia's invasion.
EU leaders agreed to send Kiev 1 million artillery shells at a summit in Brussels.
The CEO of social media giant TikTok appeared in Congress in Washington to defend the platform against calls to ban it. More than 1 million people have taken to the streets in another day of protest across France. People vented their undiminished anger over pension reform that President Emmanuel Macron forced through Parliament. Our correspondent Annelise Borges followed the march in Paris.
The streets of the French capital and other major cities across this country are filled with people this Thursday in yet another day of national strike and demonstrations against a project by the French government to reform the pension system here in this country, a very contentious project that the French administration of Emmanuel Macron has decided to go bypass Congress and approve it without, these people say, popular approval, popular support. Many of the people here in the streets of Paris and a significant number of young people have been saying that their anger is directed towards Emmanuel Macron, the French president, who they say is a threat to French institutions and French democracy precisely because of the way he's doing things, precisely because of the way he's handling this crisis and others. Emmanuel Macron, who appeared on French TV this week, saying that he's not going to back down, that this reform is difficult but necessary. Well, these people say that for as long as he doesn't move and he doesn't give up on this project, they will continue on the streets.
But the mostly peaceful protests were marred by violence in some cities as night fell. There were clashes between police and protesters in Paris, Nantes, and other cities. However, President Macron insists that unrest won't force him into cancelling the reform.
Unions in Germany have called for widespread transport strikes on Monday in order to combat rising inflation, which has been fueled by the pandemic and the war in Ukraine. The protests are being organised by German unions Verdi and EVG and are expected to affect buses, trains and air traffic. The public sectors are demanding between a 10 and 12% wage increase, double what has been offered to them by employers. Germany's annual inflation rate in February was 8.7%.
A show of strength and defiance in Kherson. President Volodymyr Zelensky's visit to the recaptured city was his third stop in a two-day tour of areas that have borne the brunt of Russia's invasion. After visits to Kharkiv and Donetsk region on Wednesday, he inspected restoration work in Kherson, which Ukrainian forces seized from the Russian army in November. Combat has intensified in recent weeks along the front line and casualties have mounted on both sides. A major effort is underway to evacuate wounded Ukrainians, with this group of volunteer paramedics playing an important role. They use buses converted in state-of-the-art ambulances.
Насправді такі проекти є дуже важливими, тому що вони допомагають економити ресурси, адже ми маємо можливість перевозити 6 лежачих поранених, які знаходяться в тяжкому та середнього ступеня тяжкості стану. Якщо брати звичайну швидку допомогу державну, то там є можливість перевезення тільки однієї лежачої людини.
With the fighting likely to intensify in the coming months, operations like this could mean the difference between life and death for many Ukrainians wounded in action.
Russian forces conducted a limited drone and missile strike campaign in Ukraine over the past few days, indicated that they continue struggling with precision missile shortages. Russian forces conducted more intensive and wider-ranging strikes during their autumn 2022 campaign, suggesting that Russian forces may now be rationing their use of high-precision munitions for these strike campaigns, or may simply lack the necessary munitions to sustain strike campaigns at their earlier pace and intensity. Now, the US-based Institute for the Study of War says the tempo of Russian operations around Bakhmut, a key objective for Moscow, which sees the town as a stepping stone towards completing its conquest of the eastern Donbas region, appears to be slowing amid Western reports that Russian forces may be attempting to launch offensives in other directions. British military intelligence believes Russia's assault on the town could be running out of steam. The UK Ministry of Defense assessed that Russian forces may be losing momentum in the Bakhmut area because the Russian Ministry of Defense relocating units to other directions. Now, Russian forces are currently increasing the tempo of the offensive operations around Avdiivka, aiming to encircle the settlement from the north and from the south. And it is possible that Russian forces are doing so at the expense of their operations around Bakhmut and the stalled offensive around Vuhledar. The Institute for the Study of War says Russian forces may choose to launch or intensify offensive operations in new directions, but these operations would likely produce few tangible results as the overall Russian spring offensive continues to near its culmination.
The green light is go, as EU leaders give their final approval to sending Ukraine at least 1 million artillery shells within the next 12 months. The 27 heads of state and government took the decision during day one of a two-day summit in Brussels on Thursday, where they spoke by video call to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, who once again asked for the rapid delivery of more weapons. The deal includes for the first time a joint procurement process, where countries will buy weapons collectively.
Un bon accord dans le sens où on s'engage à acheter ensemble. Ça, c'est une bonne chose. Ça nous aiderait à dépenser moins d'argent. Mais en effet, c'est une première étape. La deuxième étape doit pas être uniquement d'acheter ensemble, mais de produire ensemble.
A new industrial strategy for the EU aimed at developing green technologies is also on the agenda. But like most leaders' summits, controversy is never far away. France wants to somehow squeeze nuclear into the clean energy mix.
Es ist nicht schnell und es ist nicht günstig und es ist auch nicht klimafreundlich. Ne, ist es nicht. Und das sage ich schon Jahre und es gibt nichts Neues. Ich finde, jeder kann seinen Energiemix machen, wie er Lust hat, aber mit europäischen Fahnen drauf wäre es ein Schwindel.
Another controversial topic not officially on the agenda but sneaking its way onto it is the future ban on combustion engine cars that Germany and Italy are blocking, among others. They want an exemption respectively for so-called e-fuels and biofuels.
Fermi restando gli obiettivi della transizione che condividiamo, noi non riteniamo che l'Unione debba occuparsi anche di stabilire quali siano le tecnologie con le quali arrivare a quegli obiettivi.
Another guest of honor besides Ukraine's Zelensky, UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres, who spoke with leaders before lunch, raising the urgent problem of famine in many countries throughout the world.
Finland's president has signed documents allowing his country to join NATO. It's a historic decision that's put an end to decades of military neutrality. But Helsinki still needs the support of Hungary and Turkey to join the military alliance. They are the only NATO members that have not formally given Finland the green light to join the group, although they have taken steps to approve the move, with Ankara saying that it will ratify Finland's bid at an unspecified time, and Budapest has announced it will do the same on Monday. Meanwhile, Finland's neighbor Sweden's bid to join the military alliance has stalled. The other Nordic country applied to join NATO at the same time as Finland, and its parliament ratified its entry into the alliance on Wednesday. As a wait for the backing of Hungary, Sweden's prime minister announced that he's going to demand an explanation from Budapest as to why the Hungarian parliament chose to support Finland's entry, but not his own country's bid. With calls mounting in the US and other Western countries for TikTok to be banned, its CEO has appeared in Congress to defend the video-sharing app. Some American lawmakers see the Chinese-owned company as a threat to national and individual security. At a special hearing, Shou Chu denied TikTok was a tool for foreign agents.
We have heard important concerns about the potential for unwanted foreign access to U.S. data and potential manipulation of the TikTok U.S. ecosystem. Our approach has never been to dismiss or trivialize any of these concerns. We have addressed them with real action.
Nearly half of the people in the US are on TikTok, and Washington and governments in Europe have expressed concerns that user data could end up in the hands of the Chinese authorities. Beijing denies this and says the social media giant is an innocent victim in a geopolitical dispute over trade and technology.
Ludwig van Beethoven most likely died of liver failure. This is the conclusion to the latest DNA sequencing study seeking to reveal the cause of the musician's death. The genetic analysis could not 100% clarify how he died or why he lost his hearing, but it has revealed gastrointestinal disorders, that he was infected with hepatitis B, and the genetic predisposition to liver disease. These factors, along with his regular consumption of alcohol, likely caused his death at the age of 56.
You have the liver disease, and this seems to have developed over about the last 6 to 7 years of his life. It's first in evidence in 1821 with a 2-month attack of jaundice that then clears. It possibly reappears in the winter of 1824 to 1825 with these heavy nosebleeds that he talks about. In the spring of 1825, he describes spitting a great deal of blood from his windpipe. This is likely indicative of cirrhosis, so that the further progression of his liver disease.
In addition, Beethoven's DNA held another surprise. His Y chromosome does not match that of any of the 5 living relatives who bear his last name and share a common paternal ancestor. In other words, this points to an extramarital affair somewhere along the generations on Beethoven's paternal side. While starting to lose his hearing in his late 20s, Beethoven wrote that he wished scientists discover the cause for this, a request that has not fallen on deaf ears.